instead of borrowing from people who are ahead of me, I default to the worst piece of them that's possible. And that makes me default to the worst role model I could possibly have. And the worst role model that I could possibly have is an unchanged me. Because then I'm just doing the same thing. No growth at all. Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together, we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up, because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose. Welcome back to All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and this is the podcast where we turn obstacles into opportunities. This is the podcast where we stop pretending life is happening to us and start taking control of what we do next. Today, I'm doing another solo episode, and I want to talk about role models. And I don't mean like the Instagram version, Mr. Beast, all that kind of stuff. Not the polished, look how perfect my life is version, the crop out the sadness. I want to talk about why most people don't actually get better. And I say most people, like a lot of us don't actually get better, even when we're surrounded by people that we could learn from. And this all started, I keep a journal, and I use the Mind Journal. It's I think it's geared towards men. That's how it was advertised to me anyway. So I use the Mind Journal, and there's a quote every 3 or 4 days. There will be a quote from someone, or there's a little note at the bottom what to write about. And the quote of the journal that I did yesterday, it said, "People seldom improve when they have no other model but themselves to copy." And I thought about that, and I was like, well, that's kind of weird, because not having another model is impossible. That's not the problem. There are so many great people around us to learn from. And I thought more about it. I was like, well, wait a second. The problem, we have role models. We just reject them. And I say we, I speak collectively, because I'm human and you're human. And I think we probably think a lot sometimes without knowing you or knowing specifically who you are. But I think humans generally think the same. The real problem, and like this is me being completely honest and open and vulnerable, I guess. The real problem, I can find what's wrong with anyone, and I can do it fast. Oh, they're too money driven. They're too egocentric. They're too loud. They're too quiet. They're too hard. They're too soft. They're too aggressive. They're too polished. Anything. Give me 30 seconds and I can disqualify just about anybody. And for a long time, I think that I thought that made me smart. Like I had good judgment, or I had insight, or I was a good judge of character, but it doesn't make me smart. It's a defense mechanism. I've learned that. Because the moment that I decide that someone isn't worth learning from, then I don't have to change. I don't have to try. I don't have to do whatever it is, whatever uncomfortable thing they're doing. I don't have to do it. So instead of borrowing from people who are ahead of me, I default to the worst piece of them that's possible. And that makes me default to the worst role model I could possibly have. And the worst role model that I could possibly have is an unchanged me. Because then I'm just doing the same thing. No growth at all. And this shift for me, what changed everything for me, is I stopped asking what's wrong with them. And I'll tell you kind of the pivotal moment in my life that this happened. I realized one day that if I were in traffic, people would pull up beside me at a stoplight, or sitting in stop and go traffic. I would look at the person, and I had this habit of looking down at the wheels of their car. That would tell me what kind of car they drove, and from there I could pass a judgment about them, about their level of success, about their discipline, about their health, about their fitness, all these things by how well they took care of their car, what kind of car they were driving. That would give me an insight to their income. And so I worked and still work so hard at not doing that. So that was a big aha moment for me. So not trying to pass judgment on those people. So I would look at role models and I'd say, okay, well, what's wrong with them? I stopped asking what's wrong with them, and I started asking, okay, what can I take from them? Not all of them, not the whole person, but just a piece. If I could take a piece, what would that be? Because you don't need perfect role models. You do need useful ones. You don't need to become them. You just need to borrow something from them that makes you better. That's it.
As you know, I've been coaching for a little over a year now, and my coach just laid something pretty heavy on me. They've challenged me to have 50 powerful coaching conversations booked within the next 30 days. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, maybe successful but unfulfilled, or you just need to talk something through with someone that you know will listen, then I would love to have that conversation with you. This is not a tactic. There's no sales pitch. It's just one powerful conversation. This is complimentary to you. So if you want in, send me a message and I'll send you the link. I got you.
So examples. I started thinking about this as I read that quote. I was like, well, wait a second. The problem's not role models, because we have role models. The problem is we look at them and we reject them for some reason or another. So if you look at Ed Mylett, and let's think about that for a second. People say that he's too polished. People say he's too perfect. People say that everything is scripted, that he's not real, that he's too disciplined, too militant. Okay, cool. But here's what's real about Ed Mylett. The guy shows up to everything prepared. Every single time. Yeah, his standards are high. His discipline is real. So with Ed Mylett, instead of dismissing him, what if you asked, okay, where in my life am I kind of winging it? When could I be more intentional? You don't need to be Ed, but you might need a standard. David Goggins. David Goggins is a bit of a controversial figure. So you look at David Goggins and you think, oh, that's insane. That's crazy. That's like beyond extreme. What he does, that's not realistic. Yeah, you're right. I'm not suggesting, I don't think any of us should go out today and run 100 miles. But that's not the point. The point is ownership, the ownership that he has. This guy does not negotiate with excuses. Period. So the real question then becomes, where am I letting myself off the hook? Not doing something that I know I damn well should be. You don't need his life, but maybe in some parts of yours, you could use his accountability. Someone that's not as much of a public figure, but he's big in the entrepreneurial world, is Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V. He's loud. He just yells. He says just to hustle. That's all he does. It just says hustle. He's everywhere. Like, he's posted everywhere. He needs to refine where he focuses. You could say any of those things. You could say all he does is post on Instagram, or all he does is post on Facebook, or not authentic. You could say any of those things about him. Yeah, he is loud. He does say to hustle. The thing about Gary Vee is he's been consistent for years with the same message, showing up every day, playing the long game for sure. So maybe the better question is, am I hiding behind, I don't want to be annoying? Or maybe I'm hiding behind, oh, I think that's annoying and I'm going to use that as an excuse to stay invisible. You don't need to be him. You don't need to have his volume, but maybe you need his consistency. Or maybe there's a place in your life where you need more consistency to get your message out. Mark Cuban is another one. He's blunt. People say he's a jerk. People say he's too aggressive. People say he's uncaring, that he's callous. Maybe he's just clear. He makes decisions quick. He does not waste time. He doesn't waste anyone else's time and certainly does not want to waste his. He says what needs to be said. So maybe the question is, where am I being vague when maybe I need to be more direct? So you don't need his personality, but maybe you need his clarity. And then there's another piece to this, kind of another layer. Maybe it's like projection, where, like I have someone in my life that projects her anger onto me, projects her issues onto me, like tells me that I'm angry because that's her own anger that she's having to deal with. So projection might be part of this process. Sometimes the reason that you don't like someone has nothing to do with them, and it has everything to do with you. Sometimes they're doing something that you wish you were doing. So instead of admitting that, we label it as a flaw. Mark Cuban, here is a great example. You might say he's too blunt, too aggressive. Well, what if the truth is you wish you could say what you actually think? You wish you could be direct, but you can't. So instead of owning that, you make his directness wrong. You say Gary Vee is annoying, but maybe you're afraid to be seen. Maybe you're afraid, maybe you have a fear of rejection. Maybe you're afraid of being embarrassed, or maybe you're afraid you'll be made fun of. So you say Gary Vee is annoying, but it might be that you're afraid to be seen. You say that Goggins is extreme, but maybe you're avoiding pushing yourself. You say Ed is too polished, but maybe you're not willing to hold that level of discipline, and you know that you're kind of drifting. That is projection. We take something we don't like about ourselves or something we're unwilling to do, and we assign it to someone else as their problem. If it's their problem, it's not ours. Their strength sometimes exposes our gap or our weakness, and instead of closing the gap, we criticize that strength. So, are you noticing any patterns in your own life here? Every time we dismiss someone, the thing that we point to is usually the exact thing we're unwilling to do. Too disciplined, too intense, too consistent, too direct. That's not a flaw. Maybe it's a mirror. A lot of times we do not want to look in those mirrors. It's better if we keep throwing stones at other people. So when we don't want to look in it, or don't want to look back at ourselves, we start telling ourselves a story, and that story will keep us stuck. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I was going to say, here's what I want you to do. I mean, of course, I want you to do whatever you want, but here's my ask. It's simple. I am going to ask you to think of one person that you've dismissed. It could be anybody, and it's going to be, a public figure, somebody that has capacity to be a role model. It could be a sports hero, anybody, somebody that you dismissed, just one. Maybe even write their name down, or at least see their name in your mind's eye. Then answer this. What's one trait they have that would make your life better if you actually used it? Think of one person, think of one trait they have that would make your life better if you used that trait, and then go one step deeper. What part of that bothers you? What part of that bothers you because you're not doing it? And then here's the part that most of you are not going to do. Here is the challenge. I want you to try it. Try having that trait, using that trait, that characteristic, just for 30 seconds. Remember, it's 30 seconds at a time. 30 seconds, don't get shocked. That's like my life motto. Because that's how all this works. You don't become someone else. You take one action that your old version wouldn't take. That's it. That's how you change. That's exactly how you change. And the only question that matters right now is, what are you going to do next? All right, this has been All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther. I love seeing you. And until next time, if this episode resonates with you, then please click that link below and follow, or forward this on to someone else that you think might need to hear it. And I will look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember, it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all-can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.